Welcome to our channel and subscribe us. Today we will see the nerve conduction. Before we will see the structure of the neuron, right? This is the shell body, right? This is the axon. There is the axon, there is the myelin sheath, right? Then the cell body has the nucleus, then the initial granulus, right? Stroma is the cytoplasm of the cell body. Then is the dendrite. These are the structure of the neuron. Then we will see in the myelin sheath formed by the Schwann cells, right? Between two myelin sheath there is the node of the Ranvier. Then we will see resting potential. What is resting potential? When the neuron is the rest, the membrane potential that is called as a resting potential. In a non-conducting neuron, the resting potential is the between minus 60 millivolt to minus 80 millivolt, right? Here you can see resting membrane potential, right? Likewise, we can measure. Then we will see what are the ionic bases of the resting membrane potential. The development and the maintenance of the resting membrane potential in the neuron are carried out by the movements of the ions, mainly sodium and the potassium, right? Which produce ionic imbalance across the cell membrane, right? This result in the development of the more positivity outside of the cell, the more negativity inside of the cell, right? The ionic imbalance produced by mainly two factors. First one is the sodium potassium pump. Second one is the selective permeability of the cell membrane. These are the ionic imbalance produced by the two factors. Then we will see what is the sodium potassium pump, right? It moves the three sodium ions out of the cells and the two potassium ions move inside of the cell by using the ATP energy, right? These are the function of the sodium potassium pump. Then we will see selective permeability of the cell membrane, right? The selective permeability of the cell membrane depends largely on the transport channel, right? In the membrane, there is the transport channel are selective for the movement of the some specific ions. That means sodium and potassium ions and chlorine also. These channels are leaked and allow the K plus and the Na plus to diffuse according their concentration gradients, right? The selective permeability membrane allow the K plus and Na plus ions diffuse according their concentration gradient, right? Then we will see here you can see sodium potassium pump the 3 Na plus ion out of the cell, 2 K plus ion inside the cell. Then the channel in the cell membrane, the sodium and potassium diffuse, right? Basis on the its concentration gradient, right? These are the ionic basis of the rest membrane potential. Then we will see what is the nerve impulse. A series of the action potential that move along the axon is defined as a nerve impulse. There is the action potential movement in the axon that is called as a nerve impulse. Then we will see what is action potential. The action potential is defined as a series of the electrical changes that occur in the membrane potential when the muscles or nerves stimulated, right? The action potential occur in mainly two phases. There is the depolarization, then the repolarization, right? Then we will see, here you can see the membrane potential change uh, basis on the time, right? This is the membrane potential, this is the time. The resting membrane potential, that is the minus 60 millivolt, right? Some stimulation occur, there is a depolarization occur, is that is reached in the maximum action potential, then the repolarization occur, then finally hyperpolarization. These are occur mainly mainly ionic imbalance, right? Then we will see what are the factors affect on the nerve conduction, right? First one is the myelination, second one is the diameter of the axon, third one is the temperature. First we will see the myelination. How will affect the nerve conduction? The unmyelinated neurons, the speed of the conduction is the very low because the depolarization must occur along the whole of the membrane of the axon. So the conduction velocity is very slow, right? In the unmyelinated neurons. In the presence of the myelin, that's mean myelinated axon, increase the speed of the action potential that can travel along the neuron, right? This is not travel whole of the action of the membrane, right? The myelin sheath is mainly formed by the Schwann cells section that is surrounded the axon, right? Then we will see the action potential can only occur the node of the run wear, right? So the action potential can only occur node of the run wear, right? The unmyelinated axon, there is the whole of the axon action potential travel. That's why there is the slow. In the myelinated, there is the action potential travel in the run wear node. So the action potential jump from the node of the one node from the another node, right? This is known as a saltatory conduction, right? This is known as a saltatory conduction. The saltatory conduction allow the impulse to travel the much faster than the unmyelinated axon of the same diameter axon, right? These are the myelinated axon. Then we will see, here you can see direction of the nerve impulse, the circuit of the current. Here action potential occur, right? The action potential jumps between two nodes, right? Here you can see this is the myelin sheath, this is the axon of the membrane, this is the axon, this is the node of the run wear. Then we will see another factor, that is the diameter. How will affect the in the nerve conduction? A diameter, an impulse will be conduct at the high speed along the neurons with a thick axon compared to the thin axon. It means the thick axon nerve conduction is the high than the thin axon. All right. The thicker axon have the membrane with the greater surface area. for the diffusion of the ions, right? So what will happen? Greater surface area for the diffusion of the ion, what will happen? The increase of the rate of the diffusion of the sodium and potassium ion through the protein channels, which is turn increase the rate of the depolarization, then the action potential, right? What will happen? The diameter, there is the created surface area increase. That's why the increase the rate of the diffusion of the sodium and potassium ions. That's why the increase the rate of the depolarization and the action potential, right? Then we will see how will the temperature affect the nerve conduction. The temperature in the some animals such as the mammals, the temperature is the very stable. Body temperature is the very stable. So temperature does not usually affect the speed of the impulse in these animal mammals, right? In the human body temperature is the no stable, sorry, very stable. So there is the no conduction effect by the temperature, right? These are the nerve conduction. Now we will see what are the summary of the nerve conduction. We will see the what is the resting membrane potential. Then we will see the action potential. Then what is the nerve impulse. Then we will see the what are the factors affect the nerve conduction. These are the nerve conduction, right? And thanks for watching our channel and subscribe us.